Coming to you live from the offices of Chapter One Films in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is the 4D Podcast with your hosts, Nathanael Levinson, Greg Prinz, and Liam Maxwell. A new dimension in entertainment. This is the 4D Podcast.
We're back.
Indubitably.
We're back. It feels like it's been a long time.
Well,
I don't know about you guys. It has been a long time.
We were here last time.
It's been at least a month since
Do we
last
need
time.
to address where Liam's been this whole time?
Yeah, Liam, where were you?
No, we don't.
Where were you?
We don't need to address this.
Do-
Listen, I'm a busy man. Every time I step into the studio, you guys should feel lucky that I'm here.
Do you even care about the podcast anymore?
I would argue I care more than anybody.
About the boys?
I would argue I care more than anybody except maybe Jakob. Financially, he cares.
He is the most invested.
And he is
And it's a spite investment.
He's losing a lot of money.
He had a lot to say.
Yeah, but he's
about
got
this
a lot of
movie.
money to lose, so
That's true. Yeah,
Sadly,
it doesn't
it's
matter.
a drop in the
pet
pond.
Pet project for him.
it's like they were like, oh, if Bill Gates dropped $100 every time he took a step, he'd still be making money.
It wouldn't be worth it for him to even.
Yeah,
pick
he
up
would
the
not. It would
100.
waste him money to bend down and pick the money up.
It's so dumb, though. It's like, I just want that to happen to Bill Gates. Do you ever want that
the
to
thing
be
is, like, it's not real money, right? Like,
It's all
Elon Musk is worth umpteen $billion, but he didn't pay taxes in, 2022 because he didn't make any income. Oh, my monocle. Good heavens.
Listen,
It turns
doctor.
out wearing a monocle is not as easy as it looks.
Good heavens.
Is that what he said?
So it lasted 2 minutes.
Let's introduce our boy here. We got a new
yes.
face.
Okay, so we do have a guest today. Liam, why don't you introduce us to our special guest host?
This is my dear friend, Marshall Bowling for Soup.
Marshall Mathers.
And he's a good friend of mine. He lives 2 floors under me. That's how we met.
So you're saying he's beneath you?
He is beneath, quite literally is beneath me. But he's a good chap. I'll let him tell a little bit about himself.
Yeah, let's
We're excited to have him here.
Marshall, tell us a little bit about yourself. Don't let Liam give you this.
Well, I quite literally live beneath Liam, and I am super excited to be here. I am 30 years old, lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for a long time, and I am the opposite of you guys. Totally not a movie buff, but I'm someone who loves pretty much every movie that I watch. So this could be.
Man.
So you're very much like
He's
Liam.
an optimist. What's not to love about
I
that?
love Peter Pan. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Can I
Absolutely
give you
amazing.
a Marshall take that he gave me that sounded like
yes.
me?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, The Accountant. First time I saw it, one of the best movies I've ever seen. Which is something I would say.
That's a Liam thing to say.
Top 5. Yeah, he said top 5. Which
That's a
is
Liam
something
thing
I
to
would say. Me and Marshall are just optimists. We're
Yeah.
optimism.
Every time we see a good movie, man, that's like in my top.
Yeah,
5
but
movies
then
of all
like
time.
3 movies later, you're like, I kind of forgot about it. You know?
like now it's top 8 now.
The only problem with Liam is, like there have been 20 movies in his top 5 so far, and I'm like, dude, this
You'll
top,
keep saying that
this
word.
top
I do not think it
5.
means what you think it means.
I don't think you understand what 5
You
means.
guys need to have a ranking. Make Liam rank his top 5.
That's what we were saying during the
Well,
rankings. We were like, we should make Liam do this because then he'll be like, oh no, I have 16 movies in my top 5. Wah,
Tied
wah.
for second.
Yeah, it
10 tied for second.
we've had several.
I don't think there would have
ranking-
been any disagreement from you in the doo-doo tier, aka the Last Jedi tier.
I watched it.
You watched
and I can't say I disagreed with anything.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I mean,
It
it
was
was
pretty spot on.
It was a lot.
It's a
It was
lot.
It was a lot to
How many was it?
185-ish.
that. It was so
Are you
crazy.
serious?
Yes.
That's the number of movies.
and the reason I know is because I got an image for each one, and it was like 185 images.
That's absurd.
the crazy thing is that how long did we watch? It was like 2 years.
It's like over the course of 2 years. So
really
you calculated
not a long enough time for us to
It
justify.
averaged to like a movie and a half a week, which is about right.
That's
Yeah.
actually not that crazy.
Yeah, it's not.
That's actually lower than.
I don't know how the
average.
math of that works.
How the math
I
that
don't know-
works is
I don't
2
think-
years is 104 weeks. And so we watch, more like 1.75 movies a week.
We're not numbers guys.
So it's
Unlike,
almost 2 movies a week, but like most weeks we watch 2 movies. So that's about right.
Yeah. Well, you guys definitely do.
That tracks, yeah. I mean, I meant us. I'm sorry. Hey, Greg, when did we watch Pirates 1?
Oh my gosh.
And how long have we been waiting to watch Pirates 2?
Yeah, can we just? I'm just gonna let the audience up to. I'm just gonna tell you guys something real quick.
Greg is being nice.
So-
I keep saying
You guys live. You
I
can
keep saying
walk
it's
to
time to
Greg's
ditch
house.
Liam's ass.
You can walk to Greg's house.
That's
to be
true.
fair,
That
So,
is true.
that is a
I
factor.
won't
You
deny
can't tell
that.
me it's not.
I won't deny it.
This was probably like what, like 5-6 years ago that we were like, hey, we should watch Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, not 5. So
No,
it was
not that long
several
ago.
weeks ago, and
It was like 2 months ago
finally-
we watched the first one.
Finally, I was like, okay, yeah,
wasn't 2
Liam,
months
we're
ago.
gonna watch this
Watched the
thing.
first
Yeah,
one?
it was.
It was like in February.
That was like 2
And
months
that
ago.
was 2 months ago.
And every time we've gotten together, we're like, oh, we're gonna watch Pirates 2, and Liam's like,
And Liam's like, I'm in
sorry.
Mexico.
I'm
I'm
combing
at somebody's wedding. Do
my-
you know them? No, I just at somebody's wedding.
I just found a dog. I've got to comb its hair before it gets contagious. And like, Liam, just stop, dude. So
I'm
Liam
playing
is-
volleyball with the Pope.
All right, so Nathaniel, talk to us about what we're watching today, man. Let's
We are watching The Accountant, which is a movie that I had never even heard of. Ben Affleck. I can't remember the name of the guy who's his brother.
John Bernthal.
John Bernthal plays the Punisher. I did recognize that. J.K. Simmons, obviously. It was a little weird. It was a little weird when the Treasury guy was like, "We need to catch this guy," and also I want pictures of Spider-Man. But Anna Kendrick was in it.
Yeah.
And
It was pretty solid. Yeah, John Lithgow.
Yeah, John Lithgow. Yeah. John Lithgow was in it.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, the guy from Arrested
Development.
Development. Yeah, it was a pretty solid.
cast.
Pretty solid cast.
I want to comment on the fact that I think we both felt this way, and I don't know if you felt this way. It feels like I didn't know this movie was released.
I did not know this movie existed.
Same.
But it made like 150 million in the box office.
Yeah.
It got nominated for an Oscar.
Really?
For Best Adapted Screenplay. I
Okay.
think.
It's an adapted
So
screenplay.
it was a book.
Yeah, I think adapted.
It definitely felt like
original,
somebody had just watched like The Equalizer.
Someone
and
watched- see,
Rain
what
Man.
happened
It was
was
original.
like,
It was
I've got
original.
an idea.
Some-
It was original.
Yeah, someone
screenplay,
watched
by the
John
way.
Wick. Someone was trying like, can I watch 2 movies at the same time? So they watched John Wick and Rain Man at the same time. They're like, wait a minute.
That's so good. That's actually really accurate. It was original screenplay, but like
Original screenplay.
you'd think
okay.
we would be really aware of when The Accountant came out, but I didn't know.
No, and usually most, unless they're really obscure movies, most movies I'll be like, oh, I remember the trailer for that or a poster for that or something. I don't remember anything.
I don't
of this.
either.
Well,
Not a
same.
single thing.
The
So maybe
thing-
the marketing was just not.
The thing
there.
is, like, so I remember when
You've seen this movie before, right?
So I saw it in theaters. It was a while,
Wow.
long, yeah,
Well,
a long time
2016,
ago,
right?
And when I was told we were watching it, I was like, oh yeah, that's the movie about. I think there's like an assassin and he's autistic, I think. And when I said it, I was like, no, that can't be it. I was like, that sounds so
kind of
bad.
it. No, you're
But
wrong. It
you
was
know-
about an accountant who was autistic.
you know what the problem is that recent. So I don't know how long before that. You guys seen the movie Paycheck?
Nope.
No.
Never
You
heard of
guys,
that.
have you heard of it?
Nope.
Nope.
Ben Affleck.
Nope.
He's
No.
Alright, so,
Ben
okay.
Affleck needs to get like
So
a better
Ben Affleck
license for
is
something.
in this
Why
movie.
is there a list, too?
Which okay, this is the premise of the movie is that he's an engineer and he works.
Was that the one with the trains?
There are trains at a point in the movie.
I remember. I distinctly remember a trailer for a movie with Ben Affleck, and there's a lot of him walking
Yes.
on train tracks.
Well, so
This
this
is the poster is
yes.
him on trade
And
tracks.
Okay, so yeah, I remember
are there
the trailer, so
puzzles?
then,
Are there
yeah.
puzzle pieces in the trailer?
There is.
Yep.
Okay, you see,
In the movie poster, there's
yeah,
bubble pieces.
that's the thing that bothers me. This movie is about Ben Affleck and puzzle pieces, and and I think that's that threw me off.
He got
And I'm like,
typecast.
wait a minute.
Technically, Batman vs Superman was a puzzle. He had to figure out how to kill Superman.
This Ben Affleck guy is only in puzzle movies.
All he cares about is puzzles.
So,
He's like
maybe-
in a romance. He's like,
think-
I have to wait. Wait, where's the ring? It's in this puzzle box. No.
I think honestly, people watched Paycheck, which has to do with time travel, and they were like,
Okay, yeah, I do
"Oh,
remember
wait,
trailers for this.
Wait, it's the same movie. It's just relapsing because it's time travel." And so I don't know. That's what I remember when I watched it. I was like, "Oh yeah, I just saw Paycheck. It feels similar." And I was also younger, and so when I was supposed to go revisit it this week, I didn't know what to think. I was like, it's probably. And I was really impressed.
Okay.
I had the same thought. I'm kind of like, wait, this movie happened?
I know.
This is a well done movie with
Yeah, it was
top-notch
solid. It was
acting
solid.
and.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised by that. So, Liam, why don't you give us a quick synopsis of this movie, and then we'll talk to our guest and kind of get his thoughts on why he loves this movie so much.
Yeah. So, I mean, Christian Wolf is the name. Well, it's actually an I almost said alias.
You know what? How about I give this
An
synopsis?
alias.
Yeah,
It's
you-
actually
Tough
it's
first
actually an
sentence.
allegory. You see, he.
How do you say alias?
How do you pronounce alias?
So Liam is actually starting a podcast about an autistic person being able to lead about.
I was waiting for the. I saw a lot of Liam in the main character from you guys.
Half-ass research.
That was an
I have it.
accidental. I meant to hit.
And
All right, sorry. Continue.
This movie's hard to give a synopsis on. It is. There's a lot going on. It is dense. There's a lot of plot lines. There's a lot of character relationships, but I'll try my best. So essentially, Ben Affleck plays an accountant who is a dirty accountant. He's an accountant for crime families, and obviously his backstory is explored as the movie goes on. But he's autistic. He grew up in a rough household. His mom left him. His dad trained them growing up on like military training, and like there's a really good scene where it's like he's autistic, so he has sensitivity to like light and sound. So the mom was like, "Don't expose him to that," but dad's like, "Give him more of it," because like he wants him to be like.
Well, yeah, his philosophy. It's funny because I'm like, okay, some of the stuff the dad's saying makes a lot of sense, but then his actions are like terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Way over the line.
Yeah. But so I mean, the dad's philosophy. So they say he's Army and he was in psychological operations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, hey, you know, I don't want to coddle my son because in the real world, he's going to be exposed to this thing. So I want him to get used to these sorts of things rather than saying keep him away from all of it.
Yeah.
Which there's a modicum of truth in that.
He definitely
But
has
his actual like physical methods are.
He's one of the
brutal.
most nuanced characters, honestly,
Yeah.
in the movie. Somebody whose methods you definitely disagree with the execution, but you can understand a person who has like when he explains himself.
Yeah,
there's a
you're
part
like,
of you that
it
goes,
kinda makes sense.
I can understand why you're doing that, and like you need to add a whole lot of love to whatever you're doing here
Yeah.
because you're coming across like a tyrant.
Yeah,
but
he
but
was
I can
he
almost
was a
see what
clanging
he's
cymbal and a
saying.
noisy gong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
So through, I mean, he is like he's a very high functioning autism guy, and he's basically a human calculator.
Arguably more high functioning than most people. But continue.
He's a human calculator, right?
Right.
And there's this voice that kind of is his, not his master, but like helps him out to get jobs or helps him out to
His handler.
His handler, right? Because obviously he's got high stakes. He lives in a chaotic world, so he's a handler who kind of helps him. The handler suggests he does a clean job as an actual accountant. So at this firm called Living Robotics, this analyst, played by Anna Kendrick, discovers there's $60 million plus lost. Jeez. So, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the wife of John Lithgow is the one who commissions Ben Affleck to come look at the books and figure out where the 60
No,
million.
John Lithgow was the head of the company, right?
Right.
No,
But it
that's
wasn't-
his sister.
His sister Rita. Okay.
And the other guy,
What's his
the one-
brother-in-law?
the insul-
but
the insulin guy.
guy. Yeah.
Shilton.
He and Rita were married.
Yeah. Okay. So Rita is the one who commissions Ben Affleck to come look at the books, figure out where the $60 million went. Of course, he does it expertly. There's a great scene where he's just writing all over the walls. And what happens from there?
He doesn't.
So
quite-
okay, so he gets this clean job, and he's working on it, and he gets really into it because you see like he is enjoying this. He enjoys solving puzzles, and so he's in the middle of solving the puzzle.
It's really
and
the
then
first
at the same
time you see him
Yeah.
in his element.
And at the same
Yeah.
time, we're seeing this parallel story of this assassin mercenary guy, who's like threatening some people and killing some other people, and then he ends up at the vice president who was under John Lithgow, Rita's wife. What
Guys,
was-
we're getting way too detailed. This is a
But anyways,
brief
anyways,
synopsis.
There's three parallels because then
Yeah.
parallel to that is J.K. Simmons' story.
Right. So
Let me show you
at
what
the
a-
same time. Right. At the same time, J.K. Simmons is like the head of the Treasury Department, or some big shot in the Treasury Department, and he brings in this young woman who's been an analyst and a very good analyst for years, and is like, "Why haven't you sought a promotion?" And he's like, "I know why, because you're actually a criminal and you lied on your thing, so you're a felon. So you're going to help me with this and not tell anyone, or I'm going to get you fired." It was really well played scene because you're like, oh, he's understanding, but then he's like a real hard ass and like holding it over her head. Their relationship was great.
And helping him, meaning
Find the
out
accountant.
who the
Yeah,
accountant is.
so their story is them trying to find the accountant. this woman from the Treasury and J.K. Simmons trying to find out who the accountant is. There's some mercenary assassin who ends up not being a clean job because the Rita, the wife's husband, gets killed by the mercenary guy. And so then they're like, oh, well, we're shutting everything down. And that triggers, what is Ben Affleck's actual name? I guess in this case, Christian Wolf.
Just say Wolf.
Triggers Christian Wolf because he has this need, and they show it early on. He has a compulsion to complete things. So if he doesn't finish it, it throws him completely off balance. And you really did a really good job showing how completely off balance it throws him. But then they send assassins after people related to him, and he just demolishes all of them. And so they're trying to get to the bottom of this, and it turns out that John Lithgow's character had basically stolen the money and then put it back in to artificially inflate the stock.
Yeah, because he was planning on taking it public.
Right. They were going to do an IPO, and so he artificially inflated the stock and was kind of cleaning house related to that. And coincidentally happened to hire this mercenary assassin that we've been seeing, who just so happens to be, spoiler alert, Ben Affleck's brother, or Christian Wolf's brother. So, which I called pretty early on.
Yeah. That got me at reveal time.
I was also like, wait.
I felt so stupid.
I was like, wait. Imagine if J.K. Simmons was his dad.
I've also
And it was just a whole family thing.
That's when I was like, this movie's gonna get silly. If it's just like they all were like,
but
we don't know where he went,
but they
and we
end up-
also look different.
So basically, Christian Wolf and his brother end up reconnecting, and Anna Kendrick lives happily ever after with a real Jackson Pollock painting.
Yeah. The other thing.
The ending is honestly kind of just stops. Like there's not a whole lot of epilogue. It just kind of ends.
Yeah. I don't hate it. But the other important part to note is obviously throughout this, Wolf and Dana, who's Anna Kendrick's character, grow close and kind of develop a romantic interest. And then I mean the point where it really kicks off is when they try to kill Dana.
Yeah.
That they come after Wolf and Dana because they're a little too close to this financial scheme.
And his handler is saying, just cut bait and run.
Right. I'll give you a new identity.
He's prepared to run. Like he has this trailer thing, and it has everything that's important to him. And he says, the reason I have it's on wheels, I can leave whenever I want.
12
I don't have
minutes.
a home. I just have 12 minutes. You've thrown off my groove.
So,
so it's kind of him caring for someone outside of himself.
Yeah.
That triggers this whole rampage that he goes on.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So those are the broad strokes of this movie. It definitely has a John Wick style / Rain Man feel. But I want to hear from you, Marshall. What are so you're the one that brought
Explain
this movie
yourself.
to us. So just kind of like where
I keep
when
telling
did you
Greg, we need a
first?
police lamp in here. We just
It does. Well, it's interesting to me that even for you were like, this movie exists, and then you went and saw it. So it wasn't
so how'd
like
you
you've
find
loved
this
this
movie?
movie
No.
forever. Yeah. What
No,
was your
100%.
first experience like watching this movie?
Yeah, so I had a good buddy of mine, his wife. We were just chilling together some day in December, I think, and they're like, "You want to watch The Accountant?" I was like, "Sure." I'll
Sounds
watch a movie."
boring.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
That was
Okay,
that
a
was my
math
first thought.
movie.
They could have worked on the
And then-
marketing.
and then it was like, and we watched the trailer, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. And then the whole time I was, super invested because at first I thought it was just going to be kind of a boring, like action sniper movie, kind of like I thought it was going to be John Wick.
Yeah.
And then you're going through it, and you're like, actually, this is like a drama that has really well-intentioned action scenes in it that like all serve a purpose to it. So the one thing I love about this movie is like everything is like so spot on with character development. They're fleshing out these characters the entire time. Like there's never like a missed
And
opportunity.
they have a decent amount of characters they have to do that with.
Oh, a ton.
and there's really no fluff. I feel like it's a very
tight.
trim movie.
Yeah, I would agree. And because of that, I do think there's like a little, like there's a lot of people they're trying to take care of. I would say, especially like this Medina girl, the girl who's, helping solve the thing. You're like kind of trying to. I would say it's kind of a weakness of the movie. Like you're trying to figure out their whole thing. There's not a lot of resolve there. Fine. There's a second one coming out.
I heard
Spoiler
that
alert,
Medina is
but-
actually a big character in the second one.
Is she?
Yeah.
That would
I
make
can see it.
sense.
I can see it.
Like they're setting her up to take J.K. Simmons' place.
Not shocking.
Yeah, but even just like the intentionality of the action scenes of how precise he is in every one of his shots and every
so
one of his
cool.
kills is amazing because it shows you like it's trying to develop what autism is, which I think is pretty neat. And I just think like that, and then the scenes at the beginning and end of the the girl who ends up being
Yeah,
his like
yeah.
childhood friend who
Even that has like a
Like-
tie. Like I mean,
Yeah,
I just feel like
great.
it's so complex, but I personally feel like it all makes sense. Like there's no. I know you said it's kind of a clean. Like it ends a bit abruptly.
Yeah,
but
it ends a bit abruptly, but not necessarily. And well, I guess they're making another one, so
Yeah, but I mean, I felt like it
Why
all
not?
like I felt satisfied at the end, even though it was trying to do a lot. It was trying to juggle a lot of like storylines and characters. I felt like, oh, okay,
Well, the only thing I'll say about the ending is I feel like everyone kind of gets a clean end except for
Medina?
Christian Wolf.
Oh,
No,
Wolf.
everyone else, you like their story wraps up, and then he just kind of
and he's just off in
he
his
just drives away.
Well, I
Right?
think
I think if they showed him like driving up and meeting his brother, that would have been like.
Well, they said they're going to
the
meet
shot
up.
to end
They,
on.
they did
right, 'cause
agree.
They said
that
they were going to
we'll
meet up, but I think if they just showed that happening, that would have been like the closure.
see
Like
that.
I don't need to know what happens after that, but I know that he followed through on that.
right.
Right.
Conversation.
Like he is the one character. Like you look at where this is where he starts in the movie. Well, I mean, you get his childhood, but let's just take where he starts as an adult in the movie. He's this very successful accountant / assassin guy, and by the end he's a very successful accountant / assassin guy. And I guess I think the one resolve that I think most people would probably be looking for was like, oh, why didn't he get with the girl? Right?
Well, I
Like,
mean,
why doesn't
he
he get with
wrote
her?
her the note.
Right. No,
He explains
I
very
don't
well,
necessarily think that
but-
that's a bad thing
yeah,
that they left it
but-
out. But
but
I think,
you know-
the common viewer would watch that and go, okay, isn't that the next step that's supposed to happen? But they intentionally left
Yeah.
it out.
See,
Why,
that's-
why do we
yeah,
think that
but
is?
I mean-
I think that's one of my favorite parts. Not to interrupt you, but like I love that this movie doesn't take any easy outs anywhere. Like like the Hollywood thing would be to show them
Right.
falling in love.
I
and
totally agree. Yeah.
Her going off in the RV with him, or whatever.
Totally.
But I love that. That and like the depiction of autism. I mean, none of it's like over the top. It's not like super Hollywood.
Right.
It's like kind of uncomfortable. You don't feel
Well,
great
yeah.
when he's like playing the music and like losing his mind.
Yeah.
When he falls out of rhythm that one day, like when
Yeah.
his truck hits the.
The scenes when he was a kid are
garage
pretty
number.
like
Yeah.
rough to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
too.
Well, I mean, I have some distant family members who are autistic, so, and I've worked with kids who are autistic, so I thought the depictions were pretty spot on, right? It's
How do we?
it's that external stimulus can trigger very emotional responses.
Sure.
And that they generally speaking, and again, autism is a weird thing because it's like a whole spectrum of things. So like he was high functioning, but you can also be like the
Like his-
Justine,
yep.
where you're functioning but you're not vocal.
You're not verbal. Yeah.
You're nonverbal to where you basically can't function at all. And right, you can have there are people who are autistic who live regular lives on their own. They're independent, and there are autistic people who can't be independent. So it's a very wide range of things. I thought they captured that pretty well with the guy at the Harbor neuroscience
Yeah,
or whatever.
yep.
I thought generally did a good job of explaining it without being like looking at the camera and being like, this is what this is how autism works. But I thought he did a good job explaining like broad strokes, giving you what you needed to know, and then showing that, hey, here's an example of high functioning and lower
Yeah.
functioning.
To that degree too, I love that they don't mention the word autism till like over an hour
Yeah, they
into
don't.
the movie, which is pretty cool. I mean, you know
Yeah,
it
that's a
watching,
good
but
point.
like they're not trying to
Yeah.
explain it to you so directly, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
it's
point.
Not,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
didn't
until
think about that.
he's explaining to Anna Kendrick why he, because
Yep.
she's asking him, hey, why
Yeah.
are you like you are? And he's like, well,
I have a high.
I'm a high functioning autistic.
Yeah.
And then they just move on from there.
I feel like it also paints the like he's so blunt.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
just doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be a dick necessarily, but he just doesn't know how to like soothe
Yeah.
the edges
Well,
of
and
statements.
that was one
right?
thing which with when he's in prison with
Jeffrey Tambor.
Jeffrey Tambor, thank you, who had a name in the movie. What's his name, right?
So
He was
that part was funny.
He was
when-
the Gambino family former
he's a
accountant.
game- yeah.
That's,
But he's teaching them like in these scenes. He's teaching them how to respond to nonverbal cues,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is something that autistic people generally, again, this is generalization,
Mm-hmm.
have trouble picking up on are nonverbal cues. They don't understand. Generally, they can't make a connection between body language and intention behind body language.
Yep.
That's a very difficult thing.
the
And
parts-
he says that too. And that one of the lines that I love that he said was, "I have trouble connecting with people emotionally, even though I want to." Right. And that's a lot of higher functioning autistic people say that, like, I want to connect with people, but those connections just don't form properly
Yep.
a lot of the time. It's very difficult for me to do that.
Yeah.
So
You
I thought it did a really good job. Now, it wasn't quite the Predator level.
Yeah, I was
but it
gonna
was
say-
kind of like
So
autism is a superpower.
So there's at the mini Alien and Predator movies. There is one of them called
The Predator.
The Predator, which is like the 6th one made or something. In this movie, the Predators come and they're looking for, it's broad strokes. It's like they're looking for the highest life form to duplicate. I don't really know. Anyway,
it's a kid with Asperger's.
and there's a highly autistic kid, and they like find him. They're like, "Oh, you are the next level."
He's the chosen
and,
one. They're
and
like, he's the next level of human evolution. Like,
we
stop, that's
talked about the
disrespectful.
movie, and we all thought that was kind of weak. I mean, this movie has like a 2 on Rotten Tomatoes or
Yeah,
something.
it wasn't a good movie. to
And
begin
we
with,
were
so.
just like, well, I think that might be, and I don't think this movie does that. I mean, obviously, it's a great story because it takes an autistic person, says,
Yeah,
well,
it's like borderline.
It's
Yeah.
borderline.
And I thought it did, as good as you can do of saying his autism is damaging to certain parts of his life, but it also helps him to excel in certain areas.
To just zone in
right,
on.
to
I
really
thought
hyper
they did
focus, which is something that is actually true.
Yep.
That in the right environments, you can have this hyper focus level because you can just shut out external.
well,
factors.
and back to what we talked about before. I actually think that's why the scene where he's like, well, I hoped you would like it when they're there at the hotel, and she scoots in closer, and you're like, oh, they're gonna kiss.
great.
It's
That's great.
And then he just gets up and walks away, and
Absolutely
has his
incredible.
thought. And then later in the movie, that you expect them to get together, they don't. Those are ways that you can look at it and go, oh, me as a normal functioning person. Those are opportunities that I would take with Anna Kendrick.
Debatable.
Okay.
It was so easy, guys. It was so easy.
It's okay,
a
Greg.
layup.
Anna Kendrick.
so easy.
Anna
There's a
Kendrick
chance
is to
I'm taking
Liam
Anna Kendrick.
what Emma Watson is to you.
Yeah, I heard that hot take. That's
Oh, you're aware of the hot take. He's aware of
you
the hot
can't get
take.
away from it.
How
It's-
crazy? How
it's
crazy?
The internet is forever.
10
Greg.
out of 10
It
crazy.
is the craziest thing I've
10
ever
out
heard.
of 10 crazy.
Liam Maxwell's hot takes.
Yeah. That's where it started. So obviously, it's not a hot take because that you guys are absolutely nuts for that.
It's a hot take. It's just not a hot girl.
That's unbelievable, dude. If she walked into this complex, you guys, your jaws would be on the floor.
On the floor.
Oh, that's such a terrible moment. Anyways, back to what I
No,
was
the
saying.
most
We got-
terrible
we
part of
got
that is that I
random-
got blamed for it.
If Marshall knows about the take, then it's made its way
It's made
around
its way
Charlotte.
around.
this far.
Everyone
Everyone knows.
about the
Hey,
take.
those are those guys who think Emma Watson isn't hot.
Those misogynists. Those misogynists.
Crowd,
those
those
guys
pitchforks
up.
and torches, like get them. Can't be. I can't. It's not safe for me to walk the streets anymore. Thanks, Greg.
Good luck not being girls.
Anyways,
Oh,
so I actually thought that kind of saved it a bit from falling into that Predator
Yeah.
territory. Wow.
Yeah,
about to
they
just-
clearly showed. And I thought they did the great job with at the very beginning when he's putting the puzzle and he can't find the one piece and he's freaking out. And then after they're like, nope, we're closing the case, you're out, and he's just freaking out and he's trying to do his routine and he's just freaking out.
Yeah.
Was because he can't complete it, and I thought it was a good showing of hey, he's really good at his job and completing things, but if he can't complete it, it completely throws him off kilter.
Yep.
And you get a taste of that later when
Yeah.
he can't finish his project when he's he's doing the accounting work for
Right.
for the
I was
robotics
saying.
company. Yeah, like he can't like it throws him off. But
I love the setup for that too. They like have a scene. They make sure to have a scene beforehand to show every single step of him perfectly completing his routine.
Right.
And then like he comes and messes everything up.
Yeah.
Hits the garage, like
Yep,
spilling
yep.
stuff everywhere.
and I think again it does a good enough job at saying okay. Yes, he's excelling in some areas that
And also, they're not like,
suspend
oh, he's
disbelief
really
a
good
little
at killing
bit.
people because he's autistic. He's really good at killing people because his dad beat the shit out of him when he was a kid and forced him to be
And he's
an
a
elite
really
killer.
excellent accountant in a criminal organization
Yes.
because Jeffrey he was able to channel that, but Jeffrey Tambor was the one who kind of brought him along, showed him the ropes. It's like it mixed in a perfect amount of like flashbacks on top of the fact that like because of his autism, he is able to zone in. That combination made sense. Like everything made sense that he was like
And I mean,
excellent at. I feel
that's
like.
the example of good character writing is when you take a character from point A to point B and you're not just saying, oh, he got there somehow because we need the story and we need him to be there for the sake of the story. You actually do a good job explaining how he got there. And it's not just this happened, he got good at this. It's like, well, no, like there's like him developing his skills as a fighter developed his father's character a lot, and you get to understand why he's doing what he's doing. And in my opinion, like I said earlier, I think he's one of the most interesting characters in the movie is his dad. Because, well, what do you guys think about? So you watch this movie, you see dysfunctional little kid, and by the end, it's really sharp looking wolf guy, and he's just awesome at everything. I mean, the dad's like his whole style turned his son into that. His son loved his dad, so his son didn't have a traumatic view of his dad at all. I mean, he was traumatized when his dad stepped in front of him and took the bullet. His dad did step in front of him and take a bullet, so there's dad points there.
Yeah, and I think
but clearly you see him step over the line. So what are you guys' thoughts on just the dad's character?
Well, I think that's a well written character, right? He's doing what he thinks is best for his sons, both of his sons, and obviously he has some skewed ideas of what that means. So he's a complex character. He's not just this great dad all the time,
right?
But he's also not this evil, just completely malicious, abusive dad. He has good intentions, but his methods are questionable.
Yes, he's nuanced, super nuanced. There's the great
especially
scene.
considering he doesn't have a lot of dialogue.
One of my favorite scenes is when he's when they're sitting in the car in the rain. Yeah. And I guess he just got bullied, right? Wolf got bullied by this group of kids, and he's like, life isn't easy. Yeah.
He's like, they don't like you. They don't dislike you.
That wasn't really.
They're gonna beat you up because you're different.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that scene's so good.
Yeah.
Then he looks at the brother. He's like,
Go get him. Yeah.
His brother takes off like a crazy
So
person.
good, dude.
At that point, I was like, all right, the message was good, but then by the end, what you're looking at is like this dad sitting in a car.
That's the weird disconnect.
He's like, yes. My little 14-year-old boys are assassins. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, his dad's like complex.
Yeah, you're definitely a little crazy.
Because again, like his intentions and what he's saying, you're like, okay, that's pretty good advice. And he's like, okay, now go kill these guys. And I'm like, now hold on a second.
I do think the juxtaposition between the dad and the mom, she escapes and he tries his ass off
yeah,
to
he embraces
to try to
I think
do
that
whatever
alone
he can
is
pretty cool.
And that alone right there is scores you all the points as far as a parent. I mean, because if you're a parent in that situation, the movie did a great job at showing you the uncomfortability of the situation when they were young, right? Like you watched it and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want this scene to end so the kid can stop yelling. Yeah. And then on top of that, you have the brother who's not autistic sitting there just kind of absorbing it, and you're like, oh, this poor kid who's just got his arms crossed, like, all right, like I'm just going to take all this. What do you do as a parent? And so you might sympathize with the mom, but then you have a bigger heart for the dad who runs inside and grabs his son and hugs him and makes sure he's okay. Mm-hmm. So he really is a complex character because you get to hear his points behind all. Like, there's never a point where you think the movie is just trying to make him out to be evil. But it's definitely not pulling any punches. Yeah. It's showing you that he was a rough dude.
Yeah, it's just showing you what he did and letting you judge for yourself, which I appreciate in a movie, like letting me decide what I like and don't like.
Yeah. And
to go back to Christian's character arc, right? Like it was a little flat. However, again, remembering that he's a high-functioning autistic, how much could he actually change during the movie? Mm-hmm. And so he had those two big moments in the movie, one where he decides, I'm going to save Anna Kendrick.
Right.
And that was big because he's suddenly, instead of focusing inward, he's focusing outward on someone else. And then two, when he reconnects with his brother and all, he's trying to say, because he and his dad went to the funeral and his brother didn't, because his brother was like, Mom walked out on us.
Yep.
We hate her.
Yeah.
How could you go to the funeral? And then dad got shot at the funeral. So that's on you because you shouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I thought that conversation at the end between them was great, where Christian is just, I'm sorry and I love you. But he didn't know he has nothing else to say. Yeah. And the brother's like, well, you should have called me because I'm your brother and I'm always going to be there for you. Mm-hmm. I'm the one who should have been there. I should have taken that bullet for you, not dad.
And they love each other because the flashbacks did such a good job at the loyalty between the two.
Yeah. Which is another thing, pushed by the dad, where he's like, listen, it's the most important thing is family. Like everything else can fall by the wayside, which isn't a bad message at all, obviously. But this does lead to a very, very particular question, at least I had after the movie. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe you guys had the same thoughts, like, isn't the brother kind of like an evil dude? Like, I mean, is it that okay?
I mean,
that you're like,
okay, so
wasn't like. Sorry, I'm gonna finish this point, but like, wasn't he actively trying to kill Kendrick's character
and Christian
and Christian, and then at the end was like, oh, it's my brother. He's like, dude, call me sometime, and then he leaves, and you're like, wait a minute, this guy
just to be fair, Christian's pretty amoral as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he's like all about means justifying the end. He's like doing whatever it takes to donate to this You know,
And so I think and now we don't get a full picture of, maybe they'll flesh it out more in The Accountant too, but we don't get a full picture of Braxton. That was his name.
Braxton is the brother, yeah.
So Braxton, like the other times we see him, other than when he's working with John Lithgow, he's like threatening these people. It's like, you shorted this stock. A lot of people are losing money because of this. A lot of pensions, blah, blah, blah. So you better stop it or I'm going to kill you, right? So it seems like he's positioning himself as sort of a Robin Hood mercenary where he's trying to do things that are going to help people. And so John Lithgow is like, hey, the more I need this. The more money this has, the more my company can do, and I'm willing to make sacrifices. And it sounds like Braxton was like on board with that. Like, yeah, it's dirty work, but it's going to help a lot of people. So I think that's where he's like anti-hero sort of.
But wouldn't you say that? That's,
I definitely say he's doing evil things.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, even in the realm of like Christian does things that are like blatantly against the law as well, but his are very clearly like. He finds, I'm just going to call him J. Joe Jameson, but like he finds
Give
that
me pictures of Spider-Man.
he finds what's his name, and he's like, hey, are you a good father? And he's like, yes, and he recognizes, hey, he's not one of the mob members. He's a whatever, he's a cop of some kind, or he was, I don't know what he was.
Treasury agent.
At the time, that's what he was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he lets him live. And so I think the movie at the very least does a good job to make you think, okay, he's killing mobsters. And he's doing their taxes, and then if he thinks that they're corrupt enough, then he leaks it to the Treasury, whatever person, and he gets them caught. So he's kind of like you don't suspect that he killed any innocent people. No. Whereas the brother, it's like, hey, even if you thought for the right reasons, you were gonna kill Anna Kendrick. Like, isn't that like the automatic? Like,
from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
do we think that Braxton thought at any point that his brother or Anna Kendrick would die, actually, or do we think that?
Well, he sent assassins after them.
Right.
He's like, wait, they're not dead.
Right, but he knows what his brother's capable.
But he didn't know his
he
brother.
didn't know his
He
brother
didn't know
for a long time
until
Solomon
Solomon Grundy
until he's
bored on
in
a
the
Monday.
house killing his dudes.
I just thought that was an interesting point because
I don't think they did any sort of effort to paint him as not as a good guy at all.
Yeah,
and,
like
and
he's just a
Christian
bad guy.
Well, so I
is,
think
I
the
guess,
reason
why
I think the reason is because Christian is the protagonist. He's the main. He's the center of the story, and we see him doing something noble, saving Anna Kendrick, which I think we can all agree is noble. And so we're putting him up on a little bit up on a pedestal, but I think he's as shady as Braxton. Braxton may be more okay with killing innocent people as collateral, but I think they both have the same idea. Like, they have their code of honor, and they'll do anything as long as they're not violating their particular code of honor, whatever it might be.
And like whatever their motivations are. Like Braxton is like, even you can tell from when he flicks off his mom through the blinds. Like his motivation is anger.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
getting back
Yeah.
at people who did him wrong. So like maybe that's part of it. And like whereas Christian, whatever his real name is that's not his motivation is like to actually do good.
It's like,
in
well,
the end.
I mean, I viewed it as like loyalty because
Yeah.
the thing we didn't mention yet is he finds out they tortured Tambor.
Yeah, that's why
and
he goes,
just obliterates the Gambito bill for purely just because, unless I'm missing something, he was really upset that they hurt his
he
mentor.
was really close to him.
Yeah, and so like that's it. He's just like loyalty means a lot to him, so he's like, I'm killing the entire Gambino family, which is sick.
And I definitely think the movie supported everything that happened, right? Like, so the movie did a good job to again tell the brother's story, to be like, when he was in, like, that's like exactly how you'd expect that kid that you get to see in the flashbacks act as an adult. You're like, okay, he's obviously gonna be this badass, weapons wielding, awesome guy like his brother, but what's his path gonna look like? Is he gonna be an awkward accountant? No, he'd probably be a mercenary of some kind. And that's exactly
Makes
what he
total
is.
sense.
I guess my only thought is like, see, like you come to this at the end of a lot of movies where bad guys have a little bit of redemption, right? You think of like Spider-Man 2. Has everybody seen Spider-Man 2? Right, Dr. Octopus.
Been a while, yeah.
So at the end of the movie, right, like they kill the little chip in the back of his head, or for whatever reason he gets control back over the arms, and he's like, oh, like I'm back to being this kind of nice professor, but he's also like killed a bunch of people, and he's right now the town's about to explode, and he's done a lot of things that he can't come back from. And so you're like, oh, you're great, but now what is the movie going to do with this redeemed character? And he goes, okay, hold on, let me do this. You run away, I'll sink this thing in the bay. And he sinks the exploding nuclear energy, whatever it was, and he saves the day. And so you're happy because a character was redeemed, but also you're like, he kind of needed to die because he's like, what is he going to do after he's redeemed? Like, let him. So I guess sometimes I struggle when characters at the end of a movie
don't get the justice they deserve.
Well, yeah, like it's like I'm glad that he was redeemed as a character. I'm glad that he saw his brother and he cried and he was able to stop.
But
and
also, there should be consequences for being a bad guy.
I kind of felt like I thought that there was going to be some situation where it was like, oh, there's some other big bad coming, and he was going to be like, okay, Ben Affleck, like, go home, I got this, and he stays and saves the day but dies.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, like that seems like a good send off for a character who was trying to kill the other main characters of the movie the whole movie.
Yes,
because he was actively
but we're in
the
a
guy.
position where we think that killing people is evil. I'm not sure Hollywood's in that position.
No, it's true, and it's not like I think that the movie did anything bad with the characters. So, like, again, I thought the character development in the movies was excellent, like A tier. Like I don't think any of the characters acted in a way, even to the point where, again, I think it subverted audience expectation when you have all those potentials for love scenes and none of them happen, and it's like, nope, that's actually more accurate. Like, you're doing a good job. I'm just wondering, and I'm kind of having an inner dialogue with myself and what movies I like
what
to
happens
see.
with the accountant too.
Right.
I guess
We haven't even spoken on that because the timing is
Impeccable.
hilarious.
So,
It was funny because I was
didn't
looking
even
at
know there
where
was
is
a
the
second one
accountant
coming
streaming,
out.
and it's like the accountant 2. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
is there another one?
And I was telling Marshall, I think as of Sunday night, not anymore, it was the #1 movie on Netflix.
Just got
is
put
it out
on-
now?
Just
The
got put on
two is
Netflix.
2 out now.
No. This one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's because
It just got put
it
on
got
Netflix, and
announced
then they
that there's going to be a
the
second one. So it's like, let's get some buzz in the account. #1 movie on Netflix. And we picked it before. You picked it
Nostradamus over
months
here.
ago, probably a month and a half ago. You're like, next time, I'm like, we'll get you on. You said, the account. Nostradamus. Marshall.
Marshall Damas.
Okay, I have to note.
Yeah.
Like, so did you guys all see the twist coming with Braxton? Because
I-
it was pretty
I
embarrassing.
called
for
it.
me.
I think I called it about halfway through.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, I asked, so that married couple I mentioned, I mean, I looked over at them probably 3 times in the last 30 minutes, and I was like, what? This is the worst movie. They're not wrapping up the plot with the brother. Like, we're never seeing the brother again the entire time. They're like, so the wheels were turning.
They were like, don't tell him.
All of a sudden, he shoots like the last guard or whatever, and I was like, it's that guy.
The thing is, though,
Freaking
like
kidding.
I forget the first time I watched it. Maybe
I hear
Oh.
that, and it makes me just wish that I could have watched it like you watched it and be like, oh, that's so
dude,
Rather
yeah.
than Nathanael halfway through the movie, he's like, "Hey, that's the brother."
Yeah, no, you saw it in like
Yeah, I saw it in theaters a long time ago, and not that I really remembered, to be honest, much of anything, but that part of that element of it, I was like, wait, I think he's the brother, if I remember correctly, and then it hit me pretty quickly that I was like, that's the brother.
It's funny
for
how
sure.
it's so unbelievably obvious.
But Greg,
once you've
Greg
seen
is
it
a
once,
conscientious
you're like, oh,
moviegoer.
obviously it's a brother.
Now,
But
granted,
it's
we're just
possible.
watching this movie in Greg's garage. Greg is a conscientious moviegoer. He didn't say anything, and as soon as I'm like, "Hey, I think that's the brother."
Well, I don't think any of us in this room, except for one person, needs to be embarrassed about.
That was like the one. That was like the one time. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yes.
So you guys ever watched The Village? Okay. Well, I'm not gonna.
I'll
ahead, Greg.
So in the village,
It's a low- it was a
in
low
this
point.
movie, there are a bunch of characters because it's a movie, and one of the characters is peculiarly walking around with a walking stick, and is I don't even know how else to is very clearly blind, like from square one. Like there is no mystery, there is no nothing. This is a blind person. We are about an hour and 20 minutes in, and out of the room of silence that we are watching, we just get Liam going, I think that girl's blind.
Because I was looking for the classic M. Night Shyamalan twist.
That was the twist. She was blind the whole time.
Dude, I just like I almost just kicked him out of my house. I didn't even know. I was like
Like the
I don't
girl
know
with the
who
guide
you
dog?
are, but like, dude, if that's gonna be the level of movie watching,
It
like
is.
we're
It
not
is.
gonna.
It's worse than if like an hour into the account, I was like, I think he's autistic.
It's that blatant. Like this movie.
Or when he
worse
said,
than
he
that.
tells Anna Kendrick, "I'm high functioning autistic," and Liam's like, "Wait, what?"
Like,
So Marshall, I don't think you have anything to worry about, bud.
It's a
You
safe-
are-
safe space.
It's a safe
yeah,
space,
this is We've some of us have been there worse than
That was
others.
tough. That was like the first movie we watched together, or like one of the first ones.
That was one of the first, and I was like, "Oh, this Liam
like,
guy."
oh, he's an idiot.
What a weirdo. But I mean, we obviously all have our opinions about the movie. But Jakob also did. He sent us a little letter.
Oh,
Is that right? He sent it to
boy.
me.
He sent it to.
Oh,
Oh,
It's
jeez.
been a while since I've put on my Jakob voice.
All right. Well,
right,
to
hit
the
us with
audience
that.
members, we got a letter from our esteemed supporter. He
Our
he
boss.
supports the show. He funds us. He's the reason we are where we are now.
He's a
and as
horrible human
result-
being.
Yeah, we don't.
As a result, he requires us read his messages that he sends us.
It's literally all he asks.
Yeah, he doesn't even listen to the show. He just sends us a message and says, "I will find out if you don't read this."
I'd venture to say that he's not a fan of the show.
No, he
I
hates
don't.
us.
I don't know if
Always
he's
a
a
negative
fan.
review, and
But
he makes fun of us for all being white and
but
having the
to-
same.
He's white too. That's the weirdest thing. It's
He's like Eastern European.
he wouldn't
That's
call
white.
himself white. He would. He would.
well,
he would. He would call himself.
Eastern European is like the
He's-
most.
he's
white
on the
you can
spectrum
be.
of
Eastern European and Nordic.
color.
That's the most white you can possibly be.
All right. Well, without further ado, we have a letter from Jakob. Liam, let's hear it.
There it is. Oh, hi, losers. Just writing this from my yacht off the coast of Fiji, listening to your forecast. I thought that was a typo. at first.
forecast.
I'm a little torn on this movie. On the one hand, we have a strong female of color who's the hero, and Ben Affleck really demonstrated what the Predator taught us, that autism is indeed a superpower. Oh my god. On the other hand, the rest of the movie is just a bunch of typical toxic white masculinity and two A activists swinging their metaphorical dicks around. Anna Kendrick was good, so 5 out of 10. Stay broke, white boys. He is white. He's calling us white boys.
Why does
He's so
mean.
he's just vicious?
So mean. He's like, you know, like the snooty characters in all those college movies.
Yeah.
The rich
Yeah.
a-holes. The rich. He is all of those.
I know.
He's that.
And he's our
person.
boss, and we screwed up signing that contract
Yeah,
for a
that's-
couple year
yeah,
deal.
That
We're in
1,000-year contract. We were like, that's a joke, right? Nope, it's legally binding.
He owns us
We sold our soul.
Yeah,
we have
unlucky.
for a
to put up with
studio
this-
space.
with this abuse.
I have a couple really great quotes
give us
that
some-
I
give
want
us
to
some-
throw
give
at
us
you
some
guys.
quotes.
Some really good quotes from this movie.
All right, let's hear it.
How long have you been CFO? 15 years. I'll need the books from the last 15 years. You're awful goddamn blunt. That's a great one. The other one that's funny is when he's sitting with Anna Kendrick and he's talking about the paintings and stuff. And I think I wrote this word for word, but he's talking about how he likes or she says something about the dogs playing poker and how like silly it is.
like
And he's
dogs
like,
playing
I like dogs playing poker. He's like, because dogs would,
incongruous.
dogs would never bet on things. And it's incongruous. And he like laughs to himself. He likes it. He gets a
I
real
like incongruity.
he gets a real kick out of the dogs playing poker.
Anna Kendrick's her reaction in that scene is excellent. Like you can tell she's like she can tell she just wants friends. Like she's just this awkward little nerd, and she just she desperately wants to be a friend with this guy. And she's like, oh yeah. To you can tell the insecurity she's having at thinking that he's on a different level when in reality he's in his own little world and he has no idea what's going on. And she's like, oh yeah, totally, of course. Like
That's like one of the few
a
times I can
well-acted
remember
scene.
in the movie where he's like chuckling, like he's like, I like incongruity. He's like laughing to himself. It's just adorable.
It's also right at the end of the movie where John Lithgow walks in like, what's going on? And he shoots him. Sorry.
he goes, sorry.
Sorry.
The other good quote I have is when he's about to kill off all the mercenaries, he kills the first one, and he's like, he's holding the gun of one of the mercenaries, like, veers to the right. You should get a more efficient ballistic. I like that one.
What does the brother say? He's like, you ever seen like a 20 cal go through a window? And he's like, blows the guy's head off. He's like, nobody ever does.
Yeah,
Nobody ever
at
does.
3,000 feet a second through a window. Nobody does.
Speaking of him shooting, Christian Wolf shooting, I thought it was hilarious that his first interaction was with that cute little couple.
Yeah, the cute little couple.
And they're like, he's like, the one guy's so thankful. He's like, come over to the farm. And it's like, very much you'd be like, oh, he ain't coming. No. And then like the next time you see him, he's just like shooting melons outside your farm.
He's like, no chance. That's a mile away.
Yeah.
That's like,
bang, bang. Holy shit. That was great too because he's like, yeah, because the farmer's like, well, I got all sorts of catfish. You can come fishing. He's like, I don't fish. I like shooting. He's like, well, I mean, you could do that too. We got tons of space. And he's like, okay, bye. Like, well,
and he does it.
That's the end of that. And then he does it, and then he goes and saves them.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But to your point, Marshall, that like the scenes are purposeful. Is like, how awesome was the first scene where you get to see him fight because those guys show up at that farm and you know he's shooting and you're going, oh boy, like he's about to end these guys.
Also, that whole first scene where he's with the older couple, like accounting for them, he's like
incredible.
Do you sell anything?
That is really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many square feet?
Would you say you do it in a specific room? No, I kind of do it all over the place. So, but there's a specific room. Let's call it your office. How big is your dining room, aka her office? 200 square feet. About 300 square feet.
That whole scene.
It's so good because the husband starts catching on. The wife's like, "What are you talking about?" It's so good.
He looks at the wife's necklace and he's like, "Did you make that?" She's like, "Yeah." "Do you like it?" He's like, "Not particularly."
Not particularly.
He's like, do you get your supplies over mail or do you go somewhere to get it? She's like, I go somewhere. He's like, so you use your company truck.
I take the truck, company truck. It's so good.
It's so funny though because like as the owner of an LLC, like I have to do all those taxes. Like I just spent the whole day before doing all that same stuff, like marking my bedroom as an office and doing off the square feet. And I'm like, yeah, I feel this.
This is actually like traumatic.
No, 300 square feet.
I just had to start. I was like, Solomon Grande born. And I'm like,
no, Greg, you should just say, you pick the biggest room in your house and say, that's my office.
Although I will say a cool point, a feature that they added, although it was kind of like they put in some supernatural elements to this, but building callus on your shin bone is actually a super active thing that people in karate and Thai kickboxers do that a ton. It's a real thing. Like that is exactly how you do it. You lots of people take like 2x4s and you actually grind down right on your shin bone extremely hard. I mean, they will do it, and I mean like all the time. It's like every day they do it, and it's slowly over time it turns your leg into a legit weapon. This is why, I mean, I'm a big UFC fan. I know Liam watches to the extent that I watch, kind of. Like, I don't know if he watches outside of the stuff that you come and watch with me. But a lot of these like Thai kickboxers will have videos of themselves online, like kicking small trees until they break them down. Like they'll just keep chopping, kick, and then the tree breaks in half. Like that's legit what they do. And this is a side note, just an interesting fun fact about the UFC, but so the UFC is mixed martial arts, meaning that people from all different backgrounds come in and start fighting. And at first it was dominated by jiu-jitsu because nobody knew what the hell that was. And they're like, all these Brazilian guys just keep wrapping us up, and then we tap out. Like, we don't know what to do. It was all these boxers. And then slowly, you're like, I think around UFC like 30 or 50, a lot of Thai kickboxers started getting into it. And they do what's called leg kicking. Like I know it sounds silly, but like they'll sit there in a standing fight, right? And they'll just start kicking each other in the leg. And so when you watch Thai kickboxing, you're like, this looks silly. But a Thai kickboxer once fought an actual American kickboxer, and he just started doing that until the American guy couldn't even stand. Like his leg was, it's like taking a baseball bat and just cracking the other person on the leg and his leg was so black and blue that he just eventually fell down and couldn't stand up. And they're like, the fight's over. This guy just kept kicking him in the leg. It looked hilarious. It looked like a kid kicking another kid. And so that has been implemented into UFC to where all these guys, boxers, wrestlers, jiu-jitsu artists, all these different ones, have to implement leg kicking into their game, because if they don't know how to do it, they don't know how to defend it, they'll just get chopped down. Like it's so wild that has become such a big part of it, because you watch it and you're like, oh, these big guys, they're really talented, and then they just lean forward, they're like, they kick each other in the leg, and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't anything big, but in reality, it's like clinging together, like, but that's why their shins have to be so. That's why they have to do that. Their shins have to essentially have armor on them. And so you get to see the few scenes where he's just literally grinding whatever that baseball bat is on his shin bones. That's like a legit thing. Although they demonstrated in the movie, like, he kicked a guy in the head once and he died. And I'm like, well, I would venture to say no, considering all the high-powered kickers I watch in the UFC and like how many head kicks we've seen and people go down.
Now,
like,
see, what happened is they forgot to code in the limb damage, so he kicked him in the foot and he just died.
I think if you kicked a guy in the head so hard that he died, no matter how much callus you had, like, your leg would break. Like, I don't think that there's
you could if you like stomped on someone's head,
Well, yeah.
you could kill them.
Well, there
by
was-
just
there was
causing
that-
like a brain hemorrhage.
There was
or
that one guy on a
contusion or something
roller
like that.
coaster who like he got off at Six Flags a long time ago, and he's like went to go get his hat because it fell off, and he went to like the restricted zone. And you're not supposed to go
Oh,
get
yeah,
it.
get
And then somebody
decapitated.
came
Greg.
flying by, and a girl kicked him in the head and decapitated him. Like
Cut this out.
Like, this is what you get for being a
Wait.
restricted zone idiot.
This is very relevant to the movie that had a guy kicking another guy in the head and him dying. So I'm saying
Allegedly.
there was a time that it happened. all
It
right?
can't happen.
Wow, his
But-
head came clean off.
That was a real thing.
Yeah.
And her
Poke
leg was
that video.
Her leg was broken
No,
in like
don't
12
do that.
places. But that's my point: is that if you kicked somebody so hard in the head that they died, I think that your leg would be broken. And
I think it's more if you kick someone so hard their head popped off like a Lego person, then your leg would be broken.
Oh my god.
we mean no disrespect to the real person who died in this.
Who legitimately died.
All right, so I want to hear from you guys. This it sounds like overall good reviews from all of us. We'll obviously get more into depth on our like specific takes on things, but let's hear like what were some of your favorite scenes. If you can pick one, then pick one. But let's go around the room. Tell me like you in watching it, what was the happiest you were? Like what were your favorite scenes?
I really enjoyed that opening scene of him doing the accounting with the older couple.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
great.
That was great.
It's
the point where he's doing his Rain Man thing on the walls, and he's getting all excited with Anna Kendrick, and being like, "Look, you see these numbers." I know that as well.
Yeah, so the one right after, like where he's eating lunch and Anna Kendrick's eating lunch outside, and they're like connecting.
phenomenal scene.
And I mean, it's like you take her nice slight level of awkwardness in Pitch Perfect, and you like level it up as an actor. She's perfectly awkward
Yeah.
to match his awkwardness, and he's perfectly awkward. And like you would never think these two would be in a movie together, and this is like it's a
Yeah.
beautiful combination. I
Oh,
love
it was awesome.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite scenes too.
I will-
love the scene with Jeffrey Tambor. I love all the
Yeah, he
scenes
was
with Jeffrey
fantastic.
Tambor.
Yeah, he was
I
great.
thought he's
He
so
was
good.
great.
Have you guys ever seen Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Have you seen Arrested Development?
I've
Oh, dude,
not
it's so
like
good.
watched it through. I mean, I
Isn't
know
it funny how
is.
like he's pretty much in jail
It's one
the
of those-
entire show as well?
They were like, "Hey, you did a good job at being in jail as a person, so we
Yeah,
want you
yeah.
to be in this movie in jail
you
as a
only
person."
see him in jail. I love him though. He's so good. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
No, that first scene with him where he's like, "All right, so if I'm really old and I'm depressed because I'm in jail, you would say, yeah, you're probably gonna die. You're kind of old, and you probably won't get out of here." And he's like, "No,
no, come on. Yeah.
come on."
Frustrated. There you go.
Teaching him how to speak.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a phenomenal.
I'd also be remiss
How
to
to respond
not
to social cues.
state the obvious, which I absolutely love Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like
I was gonna
he is
say.
like a top. It's him and Matt Damon.
Yeah, I was
are
gonna
my
say.
two favorite actors of all
And
time.
honestly, that he sold that physicality. I'm like, I believe he could do these things.
Yeah, totally.
He's a big dude. Man.
he's
Like,
raw.
And you know,
He's raw.
I thought the Batman was good, but then I look at Robert Pattinson. I'm like, sorry,
Just not-
sorry, kid.
not-
Go
yeah.
go hit the gym.
Go back to film class.
Go hit
you
the gym.
nerd.
Eat some protein. Get some protein in you. Go back to the gym. Batfleck was believable. I mean, him just murdering people
Batfleck.
randomly was not, but like him
Terrible movie.
being
Good
terrible movie.
He's a good Batman.
Terrible movie.
I'm not gonna lie.
Zack Snyder's an idiot. Doesn't understand Batman at all. But his physicality in that movie as Batman
Yeah.
made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I think he's all time for me.
That scene of him getting punched by Braxton at the end
Yeah.
actually was he towered over him.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like you watch that, and you're like,
big
oh,
dude.
he is in fact a large man in real life
very
too. Like
large man.
I believe this.
I also think John Bernthal rules too.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
if you guys
he's-
have seen a lot
he's-
of stuff he's
no,
in.
he's so
amazing.
good.
He's
and,
amazing.
although I will say though, like he feels kind of like the same character in most movies he plays.
That's fair.
He's kind of just like high energy, towing the line of being a bad guy. It started with Walking Dead was his first appearance, and he virtually
Ugh,
plays
what a boring show.
He virtually plays the
That might
same
be my
exact
hot take.
character
I fell
as
asleep during
this
the first
movie, where
episode.
he's like an overzealous cop. And he's a little too aggressive, and he gets a little too aggressive, and he gets a little too aggressive to the point where they have to kill him, and then they kill him. He's kind of a bad guy. Like he dies in like season 1, but he did such a good job of that he became the Punisher, which is kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
He's
kinda
kind of
the same
towing the
thing.
line of being this badass guy, but he's kind of doing it for good reasons, and he does a really good job at being the Punisher. And then in this movie, very similar character. He does play like there are a couple. So he's in Sicario, I believe.
yeah. He's in
that was
Fury. You ever see Fury?
yes, Fury.
Oh, it's so good.
It's just called Fury. Why do you say it like a?
Fury.
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 Have you seen the one where
That
they're
sounded
all
like Willem Dafoe when you said.
said Fury. The way you said
Fury?
it.
Have you seen the? Have you seen the?
Fiore.
That's warrants
Did you see the?
Fiore?
Did you see the crossover between that movie and Cats? Furry.
Thank you. At least someone else gets it.
That was worse.
Yeah, at least someone else gets it.
That was worse. Yes, he's great in Fury. He actually has a podcast, and he had Shia LaBeouf on.
Yeah,
one of the
real ones.
One of the most interesting podcasts. Actually, that episode with Shia LaBeouf, they talk about some cool
Actual
things.
Real
Cannibal
ones
Shia
with
LaBeouf.
John Bernthal. He's so intense in that podcast too. He's so intense. He's exactly who you think he would be.
He's like Mark Wahlberg. He's just himself in every movie, and they're just like, hey, we'd like to have you play Mark Wahlberg in this movie if you'd like to show up, and like he's the same way.
Ryan Reynolds is that too. Oh, he's more on the goofy side.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedy actors are pretty much exclusively that.
Well, that's
where
what
they're like, you're
Will
just
Ferrell.
yourself.
When I first saw Stranger Than Fiction, I was like,
good?
whoa, it's amazing. I was like, whoa, he can actually do drama. Like, it's a funny movie,
Yeah.
but it's not a comedy.
I've been meaning to watch that.
And he is amazing in that movie. It's really good. I definitely recommend that one.
I liked a lot of the scenes with the dad. Again, I've already admitted that I thought that he was the most interesting character, but it's just because most of the time the scene would start off with you going, what's this sadistic father doing? And then by the end of the scene, you're like, he hasn't convinced me that this is right, but he's convinced me that he cares about his kids.
Yep.
And that makes it interesting because now you have coming from I'm not a father, and so like I have very little grounds to be like that's not how to parent. Like, but I could kind of tell like hiring an assassin to beat your sons up is probably not like square, probably not there,
Probably not there.
But then hearing a situation where he's like, listen, like my job is to peel back those my job is to figure out where their limits are to help them in these ways. Your job is to peel. He's like, if you're here, like I need you to help me do that. And it's like in your head, you're like, yeah, but you need to communicate to your kids you love them a little bit more. And then you can keep doing this thing, which let them know. And he just doesn't really do that a whole lot. But the funny thing is, the end result of the movie is that they both loved their dad and that the mom was the one that kind of ran out on him. And there was mixed feelings there. There was forgiveness out of both the father and Christian. And the other brother didn't obviously like get to the point where he forgave, but they both loved their dad. And that's
where
interesting.
The that you never feel from them. And again, the movie's very trim, so they don't add any more stuff than they needed to. You never get from Braxton or from Christian that they resented their dad for what he put them through.
No.
Yeah, it's never
The monsters they become. I don't think they think they're monsters.
Well, yeah, and that's the exact thing is that you're kind of sitting there looking at Christian going, was your dad right? Like from that autistic kid who's yelling because he can't complete a puzzle and his life is just it's kind of messy to now being like functioning, maybe just like whatever a billionaire that he is with all those paintings and gold that he has in his drawers. Granted, he's doing some very shady stuff, but the movie very much quickly lets you know that he's also like catching all these most of the bad guys that he's doing this work for. He's leading to the cops and they're catching and putting away. So it's like, okay. He's kind of being like a Batman type character. So he's kind of turned into a superhero that's now a billionaire. I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you say about the dad's teaching style? Like I don't know. Like, I thought that was one of the most compelling points of the movie that left the most thought running in my head was the scenes with him. So those were my favorites for sure.
It's amazing that we've talked a lot about this movie and really haven't touched on another phenomenal actor, J.K. Simmons.
Well, okay, so I was going to bring that up.
J.K. Simmons is
I was gonna bring that up 'cause that was
phenomenal
kind
as
of-
well, but he's like the fourth or fifth actor.
It's like it's like a C. They're the C plot.
Yeah, they are the C plot.
There's like 3 parallel plots, and that's the C plot, and it's good and it's interesting, and the way it unfolds at the end is really interesting because you're like you think J.K. Simmons just wants to catch this guy, and then you find out at the very like they're doing the work. Medina is tracking this guy down, tracks him down. They get there, and he's just like slouched on the couch with the hat over his head. It's so good.
Seeing him do that made me want to get a hat just so I could do that.
Could you ask Elliot Nash to get his feet off the table?
That was when
so
she calls in. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But him saying, "Look, I've been getting these tips from the accountant that have been huge busts for us, and I had to make the decision whether it was worth pursuing him or considering these as lucky breaks. And I'm retiring, and someone has to be there to be part of this, and I picked you."
The interesting note, I Googled this, because like he could have he didn't need to blackmail Medina because he's a superior. He could have just been like, "You're doing this or you're fired." Yeah. Right? Like he didn't need to bring up the fact that he lied and all this stuff. But the comment I saw on Reddit, which is always correct, was like he wanted to know if she was willing to get a little dirty because he knew that eventually he was like, this is kind of dirty.
Right. And he picked someone who has a shady past. He said, I know that you have already done something like this.
Yeah.
This is going to be in that vein.
Yep.
But I think it's necessary. And he said, like, I'm basically handing you the reins. You don't have to do that. But here's why I chose to do it. It was something he says, like, she's like, how do you reconcile this? He said, I've had to struggle with that. But I came down on this side. You're going to have to make your own decision. And then at the very end, she gets up and says the exact same thing. It was a team effort with long hours, investigate, like the exact same thing he said at the beginning. And you're like, okay, she's on board.
I do like that point. I feel like it's really cool that no character, maybe with the exception of Anna Kendrick, who's not like she's not making a lot of decisions in the movie besides
Trying not to die.
Reporting the money in the first place, but like. There's no one who's clean. Anyone who's a decision maker, it's like they all have a little bit of a background. They're all complex. Like it shows that people in general, they're not always. Yeah, it's like no one's gonna be like you can still end up on the right side and like not have the right, all the right motivations the entire time.
Yeah. Well, just the complexity of his character. Again, why do I just want to call him J. Joe James? Sorry.
I think his last name is King.
Remember his name. Raymond King.
Raymond
King.
There we go.
Ray King.
Raymond. Okay.
Got his notes, baby.
the complexity of his character is actually it turns super crazy in the middle when you find out that the opening scene of the movie is him.
Yeah.
The opening scene of the movie is him walking into the scene, and you're wondering who this guy is with a gun that's going into and you can hear him breathing. He's scared and then the scene just ends and then the movie proceeds and you forget about it. And then it goes back to you realize that that's his flashback of a moment that changed his whole life. And it wasn't just that he was lousy at what he did. He felt guilty because he didn't do a good job at protecting what's his name? Arrested Development guy.
Tambor.
Yeah, Tambor, where he's like, we promised him protection. And as soon as we got our information, we released him.
Yeah, they did blow that so bad.
Yeah.
That's like 101.
And that's
he's going to get murdered and tortured.
And
as soon as he really gets
they're like, he got picked up within the hour.
Yeah,
And so he felt awful about this. And so he's monitoring it, hoping that he can find something to relieve this guilt. And this guy comes and kills everybody. And so you get to see all of a sudden his character, which was not really doing anything in the whole movie. He's introduced and he tells Medina, hey, go and do this, and functionally disappears. I mean, he's there to go, okay, keep doing that or not. And then all of a sudden he's reintroduced past halfway through the movie to find out that he's got this really intense arc, and he's essentially the one partnering with the accountant to put away all these people. And I thought the only awkward part about that scene is Medina's reaction when she's like, no way, he's a criminal. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute, girl. Like
she doesn't immediately understand.
Aren't you a criminal? Like,
Yeah.
wasn't this whole thing about you? Like, you're legitimately right now a criminal because you lied about what you did. And I guess they wanted to make her seem like she was more noble. Like, she had that kind of bone of justice in her of being like, no, this is not right. But I don't know. I thought that was such an easy, like the movie did such a good job at painting that to be like Raymond. I was about to call him. Raymond was like, I found you specifically. I figured that with your past, you would understand this more than others, and also you're talented because you found this guy. So like it all came together, and then she's like, "No way!" And I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Well, she balks at it initially because she thinks that King is just like a regular boring ass treasury guy, right? Who's now blackmailing her, and then King is like, "No, actually, I picked you because of your past, because of this, and yeah, I kind of blackmailed you, but also." It was kind of a test to see if she had what it took, and then also saying, "Hey, we're all a little dirty, right? Yeah. And you're gonna have to make a decision." And he's saying this particular line has gotten us so many incredible busts, has done so much good. I don't want to give it up, but I'm retiring. I want you to carry on, but you're gonna have to make the decision yourself. Mm-hmm. And she ends up making that decision.
Yeah. I guess I just thought that for her character, that might be the one point where I was like, I mean, I guess they don't really like. Yeah, I guess that checks out for her character, like to be obtuse to it at the beginning and then change her thoughts.
Well, it was a really
bit.
Shocking revelation for her, so she just did
I
defensively.
guess that is true.
Lashes out at it,
and it's not like she stays on.
But then in that same scene, she starts thinking about it.
How great is that first moment when he just like flips the computer screen around and he shows her mugshot and she gets up and she's crying. It was like,
Sit your ass
He's
down.
like, hey, sit your ass down. And I'm
Young
like,
lady.
oh. And he's just talking to her like a dad. And he's like, this is a very very important moment for you, young lady. Like, he's like, you have a decision to make right now. He's like, you can either leave this room and you'll go to jail because you've been lying for the last however many years about your background, or he's like, you can do something for me. You can prove how good you are. And I was like, oh,
that was a
just,
great scene.
just dad right there. Like, it's awesome. Love it.
And the one tear that just slowly goes
Yeah,
down
yeah.
her cheek.
Dude,
It's like, oh,
I mean,
so
and
good.
I really don't think that there was a missed beat with the acting. I mean, it was
It was really good. And again, I want to say, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast, but I think I mentioned it before. The child actors did a phenomenal job. That was some of the best child acting I've seen. Now, granted, they were acting, screaming and yelling, but I was sold.
I'd be
I thought
curious
it
to
was very
know
good.
if that little kid is actually autistic or if he's
no.
I find it unlikely unless they were very
Why
high
is that
functioning
dumb-
autistic.
why is that a
Because
dumb question?
well, no,
or as you said earlier, autism man. Yeah.
Autism boy.
autism boy.
I'm googling
Well,
that.
no,
I swear if I'm right, you guys are
high
gone.
functioning would work, but see the thing is you have to do like multiple takes. And there's other things, so it would be unlikely that a mid or low functioning
egregious of
autistic could
Chat.
perform in that environment.
Let's
Chat.
So I
Chat.
find it unlikely. I think it was just really good child acting.
Chat, go watch a couple scenes of The Accountant if you haven't seen it already, chat, and tell us if you think the child actor from the beginning is actually autistic.
That if they were that level, like Justine level autistic, that would be abuse to try to film.
If anything, it's a
Yes.
compliment. It's a compliment to the
Yes.
kid.
Yeah, no,
that's
I
all
think
I'm
they
trying
did.
to say.
I think they did an excellent job displaying, what autism looks like. Again, on
He's
the on
He's a high functioning autistic kid who became a celebrity actor.
He is autistic.
No, he's
Yeah, he is.
not.
He's
just
what,
made
is,
that
what
up.
is this
He just
garbage
scrolled a little bit.
account?
Brian Madorsky.
You guys suck.
again, if someone if he was high functioning autistic, you could do that.
He's lying. I know Liam's lying, boys.
What do
He's
you
full
mean?
of it. He's full of it.
He's a lie.
Liar. Oh wait, never mind. That's not his name.
Yeah, see, he's making shit up. That's gaslighting. That's what it is.
Oh wait, never mind. That's not him.
Marco, chat says kid is not autistic. LOL. You're not getting any help there,
Yeah.
big guy.
Now,
Who is that?
adults,
Who is the chat?
right?
Who
You
was
can
it?
have autistic
Call
adults
him
who are
out.
actors because they
I'm gonna give
they've shown
Liam
that they're
the
they're
megaphone
independent and that
voice
they can
for
function
the rest of the time.
that they can function on their own. But for children, especially children like that young, like maybe some teenagers, you could probably have like I'm sure there are teenage actors who are autistic.
Sure.
But for child actors,
That would be very
it would
difficult.
be very difficult to do
film,
that, to film.
give
you could do it.
instruction.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
You
could
can do it.
You could absolutely do it, but it would be.
I've seen it. There was a kid. Never mind. We're not gonna get
Liam, I want
We
you
need to get off this topic. We need to move on.
Liam, I want to hear you say, "Hey, swing, bada bada, swing."
swing, bada bada. That sounded like you do a good like
And it's
old-timey
judge up
voice.
the right field.
Swing, bada bada.
Wait, let's give
Give it to Nathanael.
Nathaniel hit us.
Hey, bada bada bada, swing, bada bada bada.
I'm on this kid's Instagram. Seth Lee. His name.
Oh my!
Joe DiMaggio steps up to bat.
You guys continue on. I'll just be
I
scrolling here.
Liam is over here
What, like
sliding
he's
into the
gonna
kids'
have
DMs.
So while
are you
Liam is
autistic?
doing this very weird research, 2 weeks. What's the plan?
2 weeks. I've got a guest in 2 weeks. What's the date for that? The
April
18th.
the something.
April the 18th. That is our next show.
The ACO show.
I have a guest with a non-picked movie yet, so we will
Classic.
TBD on the movie.
Tub D.
Wait, what do we got?
That's the day before my brother's wedding.
Oh, come on.
What?
Just bring out the picture.
Wedding
Just
this,
replace it
wedding
with the
that,
picture.
wedding this.
Guys,
wedding
that feels like a valid excuse. I think that's the same day as my brother's rehearsal dinner.
Oh my gosh, bring your
I'm not gonna
brother.
be able to
He
make
can
it.
Just
be my
have it
guest.
here.
It's in New Jersey.
Just have the wedding here in the studio. Why do you think we have this
Big old banquet
giant
hall
studio?
right there. You just walk.
I
You give your
knew.
speech, then you walk over here. You do the podcast.
I knew that was going to get a
Super
reaction.
easy.
Just
Jersey. Why would you
just-
do anything in
Just
Jersey? Ugh.
keep your eyes peeled. We'll be posting about our next show, so don't worry about that. All right, so hold on. Next question here for you guys is: if you were to get a little nitpicky about this movie, what are a couple elements you thought the movie could have done a little bit better on? Like at times,
I thought the ending was a little weak.
You thought the ending was weak. I mean, like, so in what? Like, I guess you.
I
said
feel
that
like you
it
didn't get
ended
any
abruptly.
closure for Christian or for the brother.
Yeah.
Like they get that reunion, and that's great. Anna Kendrick gets her painting. Medina steps up
Her
on stage
millions of dollars.
and replaces Ben King. But then I feel like Christian just drives off, and that's it.
I'm gonna look up how much that. What's the painting that she got? Was it?
It was a Jackson Pollock. I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna look up here. You guys either talk about nitpicking.
You know, there's like
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say the one thing like love the characterization for a lot of people. Felt like trying to develop too many characters.
Yeah.
By the end, it
That's
was
good.
like
That would- yeah.
it was like we had too many trying to be A characters like Medina. Like
Yeah.
you could tell that they're trying to have a storyline, but you care too much about
Also,
everyone else.
when John Lithgow, like at the very beginning, of the movie, was like, "I don't care about money." I'm like, "That guy's evil." Like something's wrong with this guy.
100%.
Now that would probably be my only comment too. Although I think they handled it relatively well. There was a lot going on.
There's just a lot going on.
There was like
And a lot of flashbacks too.
there's
so
like
it's,
E plots.
I did think, there are a lot of movies. Sometimes they have flashbacks and it gets confusing. I thought it was well structured with the flashback, so I was able to follow. As far as I was able to tell, I don't think there was anything I missed. I was able to follow what was happening in all the flashbacks.
like you were never confused.
Yeah,
at
I
the
wasn't
plot.
confused about
Yeah.
the movie.
I would like to ask 2 questions.
No,
A,
you get one.
so he. Okay, I gotta pick one. Good
You gotta figure out how to
You
communicate
just do what
without
we call a
asking
Daniel
questions.
question. You got to do what we call a Daniel question. It's one question, but it has 17 question
Okay,
marks.
I
in
have,
it.
I have one question. It's 2-parter.
There you go.
Let's hear it.
Thermos. Did I feel like I missed something?
Yeah,
The-
so
the thermos was dented.
they do explain that.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
when
think
he
I
when he
missed
went
that.
so after Francino, I think
In-
was his name.
The guy in the jail.
Yeah.
Jail.
yeah.
He hit, he's hit,
He,
hit
he
someone
so
in jail.
so when
He heard
when
that he was
Tambor
taken.
when Jeffrey Tambor gets killed, like he hears that they found his dead body.
Yeah.
And so he freaks out and escapes and cracks a guy's skull with his thermos and escapes with the thermos.
He literally escapes
yes.
jail.
Yes.
Yeah, he
jumps,
jumps-
jumps out
that's
of third floor window.
Yeah.
So he. Okay.
Also,
So yes, they
That
did
feels
answer.
like a
They
big-
did answer that question.
side note:
big
Jackson
part to
Pollock paintings are anywhere between $20 and $150 million.
I told
crazy
you this
'cause they're
I
bad.
told you this, Greg. Greg was like, "Is that worth a lot
bad
of money?" I'm like,
paintings.
"Well, first of all, he's dead, which is really big in art, and second of all, yes, he's a popular painter."
Yeah, but they're bad paintings, objectively.
Okay.
So Nathaniel
I was
had
talking
something to say
I
about this.
actually have something to say about this too. So I've been to the MoMA, which is not worth any money. So only go to the MoMA if you get in free.
Okay.
They do have Starry Nights, which is a really cool painting.
Yeah.
It's one of the things where if you see a picture of a painting, you don't get a sense of the texture of it. That's one thing that you just don't get unless you actually see the painting in person. That
makes sense.
So Starry Nights, even though it looks beautiful, like if you're just looking at a picture, it actually has really deep brushstrokes, and it looks even cooler in person. Jackson Pollock paintings are very textured. There's like really thick globs of paint anywhere, and it is kind of cool, and they're really big too. So it is kind of cool and kinetic, and it has a sense of energy about it because he put the things on the ground, just like threw paint at them. It was pretty wild, right?
So you're
And
admitting
they're-
that he's an idiot.
Now,
That's the
now,
issue.
here's the
You're-
thing.
you're
Now here's the thing. Now here's the thing. Now here's the thing. I don't know if you put 2 Jackson Pollock paintings next to each other, I would say, why do you need 2 of them? Right? They're all about
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
but there is something cool about them. And then, of course, in the MoMA, across from like size of the wall, the Jackson Pollock painting was. Across from it is 3 canvases that are just painted red, and I was like, "Now that's bullshit."
Yeah. Comparatively.
So
yeah, okay,
I don't know if I would pay $40 million for that.
Well, I just looked at
But-
when she got the painting of the dogs. I'm like, oh, that's cute, and then she ripped it away to
it's a
see
Jackson Pollock. Yeah,
a painting that makes no sense, and I'm like, I would have preferred the dogs.
I would prefer the dogs
are way better. Yeah.
I like dogs playing poker. They're incongruous.
Incongruous. Incongruity.
Well, if I had to pick a moment that I didn't think landed super well, I had it in my head and I just lost it.
It was the brother.
Somebody else say something.
You were complaining about the brother not getting
Can
murdered.
I ask my second question?
Well, do you
there's
have a-
that.
No, I don't have any picks.
Okay.
The second question is he gets paid in these paintings, right?
Right.
Or he gets
Or
paid in
he's paid in-
obscure ways.
Well, he had that he had the drawer full of gold
Of
bars.
gold bars, right.
And like,
But he also
Other-
does have
other
he also,
currencies, yeah.
he
He got
also does
cash.
have an insane amount of cash.
yes,
Yeah.
So he gets the gifts
remember.
from like the criminal organizations.
Yes.
And then he gets the
And
actual
money.
cash.
Well,
And
no,
then
they
like-
pay him in
They pay
either
him in-
actual
yeah.
cash
Okay,
or
okay.
other things,
Yeah.
or maybe a combination of both.
Okay, gotcha.
So
For some reason, I thought it was just like GIF. Like he just gets like.
and you saw that he also had like rookie season baseball cards.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
in one of
And
his
Action
drawers.
Comics #1.
And Action Comics. But anyway, sorry. My critique. I didn't like that the brother didn't have like a send off. But I also admitted that I was like, I don't think the movie needed that. Like it was just my preference. I think the movie did a good job at explaining all their characters, and that he didn't need to die really. Like that would have been forced. I didn't like that the genius British girl was the other girl with autism. I don't know. I thought that was a little much. I thought like it's not that I didn't like it being tied in. Like I was looking forward to the whole movie going, okay, who's this person gonna be? But the fact that it was her, it just made me think, okay, wait, so she's like a super person too? Like,
that's
like,
where I was like, oh,
yeah,
so
it gets
autism
into
is a
that, yeah.
superpower.
that was why I was like, so this whole village full of like autistic kids that the guys like they're all just like they're all,
Village just sounds
it's a
broad
cottage
for some reason.
A cottage. I'm sorry.
the cottage of autistic superheroes.
They're all secretly sitting there like just wrecking the Pentagon like with their computers. Like that's what I got the feel because the guy walks by and he's like, yeah, you could backdoor the Pentagon with that thing. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, listen, I know computers, and it's not the computer. Like you actually have to know what you're doing on the like. It means that she is an absurd genius. The way that it's not like she was given a computer and she just has to press enter, and all of a sudden she's in the Pentagon, press a few more. It's like she is objectively a genius if she is that character. So
And
you're
also,
telling me that
like that little kid that comes in, she says something like "Hey, Dreamboat" or something really weird.
She calls
Yeah.
Christian Wolf Dreamboat.
Right, but no. Was he talking to Christian
Yeah,
Wolf there,
no,
or was he
she-
talking to the kid that was?
She was talking to the kid.
Yeah, it's not,
She-
I
she
thought she was
calls
talking to the little
everybody
kid who was.
Dreamboat.
Everyone.
Okay, okay, maybe. It's,
It's
still a little weird.
I agree with that though. It's a little like it gives it a little too much. Like, look how awesome autism is.
It
so
broke the
cool.
reality for me a little bit. And
Yeah.
granted, it's quite literally
It was
the
a
last
small thing
scene
and it was
of the
right at the
movie,
end.
and so it didn't really. But it definitely made me feel like
It's a little kitsch.
It made me feel like the movie was just like, oh hey, wouldn't this be cool if like the other autistic kids were all hacking the Pentagon from the? And I was like, all right, well that's kind of silly. We can just forget that happened.
So what was a little disappointing about that part for me was I thought it was sort of John Wickian in that he's part of a larger universe that they don't tell you about. But like, no, it was just the autistic kid he already knew.
Well, that was my point too. Is that I was with the audience and being like, oh man, like who is this person? Again, it's the dad's message to him that he's like, find one person you trust, and that's it. Nothing else. He's like, family is deeper than everything, and don't trust a whole lot of people. Like the dad has got problems, although his message has helped his kids, I guess, grow into one of his
really,
sons
really
grow into
good
really cool
murderers.
people. His other son into a questionable person.
I mean, again, they're both questionable.
Okay, both really sketchy kids. Bad dad. But I guess just the idea that you only trust one person, and that he has this person the whole movie, and the movie kind of goes away from it and revisits it, and goes away from it, revisits it. So you're always kind of like, oh yeah, there's that person. Who's that going to be? And with me, I was just kind of like, oh, it's kind of cool that they connected it back to something at least relevant. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm this hot British girl, and now I'm your new love interest. And it's like, that's the end of the movie. But I was glad it was something. But the fact that it was the other autistic girl, I was just kind of like, all right, this person had to be like equally as, if not more advanced than he is at his whole math brain thing. And they're like, we'll just find another autistic kid and they'll be superpowered.
No,
his
his
it's a little
autism
silly.
gave him math superpowers. Her autism gave her administrative superpowers.
Yeah, she was going to give him a new identity.
She got
within
bit by a
30
radioactive
seconds.
secretary when she was a kid.
He got bit by a nerd when he was a kid.
He got bit by a radioactive math
5
teacher.
+ 5 = 10. All right, Liam, what about you?
I would say the only nitpick I would have is what Marshall touched on, and that could be also related to what you just said, is like it just feels like it was tackling a lot. Although I don't know, for your nitpick, would it have been better if it wasn't a part of the story, or if it was somebody else? Or is that the best of the three possible options?
I think if they left it a little nuanced, like at the end of the movie, like the girl's like, well, what are you gonna do now? And he's like,
It was
well,
actually a
I'm gonna go
dude
find my
catfishing
friend
him.
or something. Or he walks up to somebody and they've got their back turned, and then you hear them. Like you hear it talk on the phone, and then he walks up to them, and then he's like, "You don't sound like what you talk about, or whatever." And then they turn around, and the movie ends. You don't know this person, so it kind of leads into the fact that hey, there's going to be a
And
sequel.
it was Anna Kendrick the whole time.
But it's that would have been dumb.
That would have been really dumb.
But it's very clear that the movie was like
It's J.K. Simmons.
the movie did not think that there was going to be a sequel, and
through a voice modulator.
we just live in the age of sequels, which kind of like if we had a wrap up question, it would be this: what do you guys do? You guys think the sequel's gonna be good?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
I
not.
think it's
No
gonna be
chance.
terrible.
I think at best it's going to be just a generic action film, which will be fun to watch.
I don't even
But
know if it'll get there.
It'll be
I have
like a
such-
one and done. If I was going to this is a movie I would be happy to watch again.
Yeah,
I think The
no,
Accountant
it's a
2 will
great
either
movie.
be absolute trash, or it's going to be a mediocre action film you watch once and then you forget about.
Yeah, I think that there's like no chance that this movie is not bad.
Well, because like what?
I don't know.
So like John Wick. John Wick was
Anna
like
Kendrick.
the first John Wick was a self-contained movie, but it hinted at a wider world, right? And so it left them open to sequels. Where's the sequel in this one?
So
It doesn't
you're the
need
one
to
that told me there's going to be no Anna Kendrick.
No Anna Kendrick.
Which wouldn't you think she would be a major part?
No,
No.
he walked away.
And, I mean, I feel like
you don't think they'd come back to True Love?
Nope.
for the second one to be a success, like they have to, it has to be like a whole nother character that comes in that's like
'Cause-
the main character.
Yes.
pretty
Okay,
much.
here's what I would want from Accountant 2. Him and his brother teaming up and just killing people.
Yeah, just really
Like
die.
buddy,
throw all
I want it to be
care to
like a
the
buddy
wind.
cop movie.
Yeah.
But here's the problem,
Because his brother would be a great straight man for his autistic bluntness. I think that would work. I legitimately think that would work really well.
It would be
So,
very funny
this
to
is-
like veer totally off of like just be like a buddy comedy.
if
like,
we're
be
making predictions,
comedic.
this is my prediction.
like a Bad Boys.
Speaking of straight men, I
See
think
where this
that
goes.
there is
Where are we going here, Greg?
there is no way that this movie starring strong white masculine
No.
male
He's
character.
neurodivergent, so it's okay. He's
Let me
neuroatypical.
there's
he's
no
already-
way, there's
yeah.
no way that this movie can stand without a strong female character
Medina.
putting him it could be her,
Oh.
could be a new one, will put him so squarely in his place that
Well,
he will
okay.
be like,
Well, it could be Justine too. Justine could be involved.
Here's
in
the
that
worst
one.
thing that
It's
could happen in
Medina,
this
for
movie.
sure.
Here's the
It
worst
is.
thing that could happen in this movie. I don't think it will, but it's a possibility. Is that Medina beats up Christian Wolf, and then you're like, okay, well she got bitten by a radioactive Superman because she's literally just Superman right now.
I can guarantee you there will be a character demeaning him.
That'll be
and
100 pounds
teaching
soaking
him
wet and will beat the shit out
that
of him.
he has to be like, oh my gosh, I was so
I'll turn it
wrong
off.
on all these ideas, and you were just so right. And this person's going to be just the sage, and it's going to be like.
And then he kicks her once and she dies.
Like
That would be a good movie.
the brother won't have a role because he's just another random white dude. You can't add that in there. We need to get more diverse. He's got a cousin who is, who was mixed. He's got two twin girl cousins, and they come
One of them's
in.
trans.
And they find out that the reason he didn't get with Anna Kendrick isn't because he was autistic. It's because he's gay.
Jakob. It sounds like Jakob would love this.
You need to stop.
up his
You need to
alley.
stop exchanging scripts with Jakob.
Well, again, these are my predictions. When we go and see this, when these things start happening, be like,
I want to see if it has a
bastard,
release
Greg
date.
was right.
Yeah, does it have a release date?
We'll see. We'll see. Well, because we have not all the action movies have gotten that. Like Equalizer 3 was great.
Yeah,
Didn't happen in there. So
well,
it's possible for them, for action movies specifically, I think it's possible for them. Yeah, they can absolutely get just run over by the woke train.
Well, and I
but
think
they uniquely are somewhat exempt from that because you have to sell the action star as being able to do the physical things, and a 100-pound woman would not be able to do what Ben Affleck did in that movie.
Well, it's like I don't mind like if the movie just suffers from normal action sequel fatigue where you get like John Wick, where you're like John Wick 1 is incredible. It's such an amazing movie. It's one of the best action movies of our generation, honestly.
Totally.
The sequels are still fun and really great, but they're not like the first one. Like, and that's typically what happens in action movies. Like Equalizer introduced an amazing character, really fun to watch, just cool guy beats up bad guys, and it's really unique and interesting. The next ones are just kind of mindless action movies, and like they're still fun to watch, and like he's doing all the same things, but it's definitely not as clean as the 1st one, and that's typically what happens in action movies. If this falls victim to something like that, I'll be happy. I'll be like, hey, there we go. Like we got to see more of like this guy like beating people up and being charming on the side. Like that's great. I could watch Ben Affleck do that all day. Although he's kind of old now, isn't he?
Can I read an excerpt? This is everything we know about the accountant. too,
Oh,
so far.
boy, here we go.
Hit me with it.
You guys are gonna
me with
love
sauce. Hit me with
this
sauce.
quote.
Oh,
Okay,
baby.
so the director Gavin O'Connor is
Here we
back. He's gonna direct the second one.
Okay.
He's back.
He is describing it as Rain Man on steroids.
I'm in.
So he's
Which
literally
is
saying what Ben
hilarious.
said.
Which is so funny. And that it will be like a buddy picture, focusing on the two brothers and their odd couple like
Let's
relationship.
go. What I say?
That's a bit
what
encouraging.
I say? That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
That's a bit encouraging.
I
That'll
really
be kind of
hope
funny.
that I'm wrong and that that's the
Do we
case.
think
That
they're
sounds
gonna
awesome.
go bad? Medina's gonna take him down.
Oh gosh.
That's
Maybe.
think so.
There we go. Then we're all right.
Jakob would love it.
I think some of the.
love
I
it.
honestly think if that's where they're going, I think some of the tension is going to be Punisher pulling more towards chaotic evil, and Ben Affleck being like, maybe we shouldn't be killing all these people.
Right.
Or
That
vice
sounds
versa.
interesting.
It would be really interesting if it was vice versa. And Christian Affleck, Ben Affleck just starts to like moan people down, and his brother's like, "Nah, let's slow down a little. Let's take a step back.
Yeah.
I'm all for killing innocent people. However,
Mid
that
2025.
orphanage, not so sure with that one, bud.
Mid 2025. Also, the two movies that this director has been attached to are two phenomenal.
The Accountant
and Warrior. You guys ever seen Warrior? Tom Hardy, the MMA movie.
Yeah.
You probably love that one.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And he hasn't done much
Sports
recently.
movies
so, like,
grown.
I'm into it. We'll do Warrior next.
I need to find a cricket movie and make you watch it. I'm not going to watch it, but
There's
I'll
no
make you
such
watch
thing.
it. I don't
Trick
believe-
question. There's no
There
cricket movie because nobody would watch
I guarantee there's a cricket movie. It's a 5-day long movie.
All right. Well, Mr. Marshall, we like to end our shows in a very unique
yes.
way.
Uh-oh.
We have a method in which we have been putting our guests to the test.
All right.
We present them with a Mad Lib. I hope you know what a Mad Lib is. You will just be needing to fill in different verbs and adjectives and things like that. Any way you would like. There are no rules on this one. You can be as we've had some people want to be very movie relevant to the movie. We've had some be as chaotic as possible, and it comes out very funny.
We just say PG-13.
Yeah, maybe
X-rated.
Honestly, there's really no
NC-17.
rule. There's no rules.
Yeah,
Just do whatever.
if you think it's funny,
Yeah.
go for it.
Do we have one picked out specifically, or
It's
should I just go?
Just
tell me when to
Just
stop.
go to the next one. We should we go in order? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you gonna read me the request?
fine. We'll go in
Give
order.
me. Read me the title,
This guy.
Liam. Title, so I can find some music that's relevant.
Okay. What are these examples? Good Lord. All right.
How many examples of Mad Lib do you need
No. Okay,
before you figure out how it works?
kind of no.
It's
It's
pretty
All
straightforward.
right. It's called Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, good.
What kind of music would exemplify Little Red Riding
Like
Hood?
skipping through a
Is
forest.
this one easier?
Something
What about
good.
this one? What about this one?
Folk
I got a good
folk.
one. Talk Like a Pirate. We could do that one too.
Oh,
That
there you
one's
go.
easier.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
like a pirate.
Talk
Okay,
like a pirate.
there we
Pirate
go.
music.
Okay.
Okay. Noun.
Anna Kendrick.
All right. Adjective.
Autistic.
Yes. Here we go. Showtime. Verb.
Eat.
Adverb.
Lee ends in L-Y.
What even?
Ends in L-Y.
What even is an adverb?
is an
No one
adverb?
knows.
Ends
Go
in
back to
L-Y.
grammar school.
I just told you. It ends in L-Y. It's not complicated.
Creatively.
It could end in Y. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
L-Y, right? It's like vary would be an adverb.
Yeah.
Right. Noun.
Send type.
Autism.
Is that a noun?
Autism?
Autism, yes.
For sure.
I forget what a noun is. Adjective.
Pretty.
Plural noun.
Dogs.
3 plural nouns in a row. That's one of them.
Cats.
2 more.
I
Yeah.
knew you were going to say cat.
One more.
Detectives.
I knew you were going to try to go movie.
Yep.
Movie related. Part of the body.
Forehead.
Now, give me 4 nouns back to back
Oh my gosh.
So many nouns.
to end it.
Braxton.
Yeah.
Christian Wolf.
Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah.
Trying to find pirate music.
Oh, yeah.
What do they call the thing you walk off of? The
Gangplank?
the plank.
the plank?
Yeah. Part of the body.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, there's one more.
There
Sorry
are
about
more than
that.
one part of the
Sorry.
body, yeah.
Yeah. Earlobe.
I'm a biology major. I can
Earlobe. Are we still planning on making one of these?
Yeah, so the idea is that at the very end of our season, we would kind of observe all the Mad Libs, and we would take one of them, and we would actually make a short film and have to film that Mad Lib, starring Liam,
cannot do this
Nathaniel,
one.
and
It'll get
myself,
immediately canceled.
produced by
It
me.
says autistic 4 times. We absolutely cannot do this
Do we
one.
have any autistic friends?
And so that is kind of the idea.
Do we? Surely we do.
All right. So, do we have a completed Mad Lib? Is that something that has happened?
Completed Mad Lib. I am ready.
Do we have a completed Mad Lib? Give me 1 second. Let me hit you with that voice modifier. All right. So, without further ado, we have Nathaniel reading. Dr. Nathaniel, forgive me.
Yes, quite.
Reading our Mad Lib. So, take it away.
Talk like a pirate. Ye can always pretend to be a bloodthirsty Anna Kendrick, threatening everyone by waving your artistic sword in the air. But until ye learn to eat like a pirate, you'll never be creatively accepted as an authentic autism. So here's what ye do. Cleverly work into your daily conversations pretty pirate phrases like, ahoy there dogs, avast ye cats, and shiver me detectives. Remember to drop all your G's when you say words like sailin', spittin', fightin'. This will give ye an forehead start. I gotta remember to not open my eyes. This will give ye a forehead start to being recognized as a swashbuckling Braxton. Once you have the lingo down pat, it helps to wear a three-cornered Christian wolf on your head and stash a blood in your pants and keep a plank perched atop your earlobe. Aye, now ye be a real pirate.
It's a good one.
Indeed, quite.
D plus.
Good work, Marshall.
D
No,
plus.
that was great.
Well
that might have been
done.
one
I
of our
do
best.
appreciate waving your autistic sword in the air. I think we are officially
Autistic
canceled for
sword.
that. We are 100% canceled for that.
We'd be canceled if we didn't put autism in. Hey,
I don't like him.
monocle was there was a missed opportunity there.
The monocles. Oh man. Well, he's a doctor now, so we kind of have to do
Dr.
this.
Levinson.
That's,
As we do, all doctors
we didn't
with
say that a whole
monocles.
lot on the cast, everyone at home, but our beloved
Applaud me
Nathaniel
right now. Stop what
is
you're doing
actually
and
a
clap.
doctor.
Clap, you monkeys.
so
Clap. Thank you.
Let's give him a
I
hand.
deserve this.
If you're at
Thank
home, let's hear it for Nathaniel.
Yeah, give him some jazz hands. Maybe snap. Do the snap.
He's a good guy. We like Nathaniel a lot.
GG's in the chat for Nathaniel. GG's.
GG's. No re, thank God.
All right, so what are we doing for our next show, Nathaniel? I guess
Well, you said you're bringing a guest who has not picked a movie, so I got no idea what the hell we're doing next.
And we
You
also-
tell me, Greg.
we also don't know the date.
It's the 18th.
So, well,
Oh, well, if Liam's not there, it's the week after the 18th.
Marshall could just take over my spot permanently.
That'd be fun.
think
we
I
will
would-
either be on the 18th and find a guest, or we will be
The week after that.
rescheduling. Just keep
Which will be the 25th.
your ears peeled. Yeah, but we're happy you joined us. If you're sitting in chat, you're wondering why you can't talk with us. It's because
You're
you
an
haven't
ape.
subscribed,
Oh,
and
also that.
you're a monster. So please subscribe, like the channel, chat with us. We'd love to hear what you guys think. And yeah, until next time, we are the 4D Podcast, and we are out.
Howdy ho, good lads. Oh man, it gets hot in here. It does get hot in here.